As with fractions, decimals are a way of expressing parts of a whole thing. Decimals are used extensively in business applications. In this course, you'll learn to read, write, and work problems involving all types of decimal numbers. By definition, decimal numbers or decimals are amounts less than a whole or less than 1. They are preceded by a dot known as the decimal point and are written 0.31 or 0.31 for example. The 0 is used to ensure that the decimal point is not missed. Often, decimals are written in conjunction with whole numbers. These are known as mixed decimals. In mixed decimals, the decimal point separates the whole numbers from the decimal, such as 4.31. The place value chart here expands the whole number chart to include the places representing decimals. In decimals, the value of each place starting at the decimal point and moving from left to right decreases by a factor of 10. The names of the places on the decimal side end in this. They are tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, millionths, and so on. To read or write decimal numbers in words, you must read or write the decimal part as if it were a whole number, then name the place value of the last digit on the right. In reading and writing mixed decimals, and the decimal point should be read as end. For example, 81.205 would be read as 81 and 205 thousandths. When a dollar sign precedes a number, the whole number value represents dollars and the decimal value represents cents. The decimal point is read as an end. For monetary amounts, we round to the nearest cent or hundredth place. For other business applications, we usually do not go beyond thousandths as a final answer. Here are the steps to round decimals. Step 1. Determine the place in which the decimal is to be rounded. Step 2. If the digit to the right of the one being rounded is 5 or more, increase the digit in the place being rounded by 1. Step 2b. If the digit to the right of the one being rounded is 4 or less, do not change the digit in the place being rounded. Step 3. Delete all digits to the right of the digit being rounded. Most business calculators, such as the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus, store numeric values internally to an accuracy of 13 digits, but you can specify the number of decimal places you want to display. When using the floating decimal option, the calculator displays up to 10 digits. Changing the number of decimal places affects the display only. Except for certain business applications, such as amortization and depreciation results, the calculator does not round internal values. To round internal value, you must first use the round function. Let's take a look at rounding by way of an example. Round the following number to the indicated place. 0.0292 to hundredths would equal 0.03. In adding and subtracting decimals, we follow the same procedure as you do with whole numbers. As with whole numbers, be sure that you line up all the place values including the decimal points. Here are the steps to adding and subtracting decimals. Step 1. Line up all the decimal points vertically. Step 2, which is optional, add zeros to the right of the decimal numbers that do not have enough places. Step 3. Perform the addition or subtraction working from right to left. Step 4. Place the decimal point in the answer in the same position, the column, as the problem. Let's take a look at adding and subtracting decimals with this example. These examples are solved by lining up the decimal points, then performing the indicated operation as if they were whole numbers. The rule is that there must be as many decimal places in the product as there are total decimal places in the two factors, the multiplier and the multiplicand. This may require adding zeros to the product. Here are the steps for multiplying decimals. Step 1. Multiply the numbers as if they were whole numbers. Disregard the decimal points. Step 2. Total the number of decimal places in the two factors, the multiplier and the multiplicand. Step 3. Insert the decimal point in the product, giving it the same number of decimal places as the total from Step 2. Step 4. If necessary, place zeros to the left of the product to provide the correct number of digits. Here's an example of multiplying decimals. 125.4 times 3.12. In this example, we take the 125.4 with one decimal place and multiply it by the 3.12 with two decimal places to get a total of 3 decimal places in our answer of 391.248. The basic rule is that you cannot divide a decimal in the divisor. If there's a decimal, you must convert it to a whole number before dividing. Here are the steps to dividing decimals. Step 1. Place the decimal point in the quotient directly above the decimal point in the dividend. Step 2. Divide the numbers. Zeros may be added to the right of the dividend as needed. When adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing decimals, numbers should not be rounded until the final answer, unless you're estimating. If the situation involves money, the final answers should be rounded to the nearest cent. Let's take a look at an example of dividing decimals, where we take 8.50 divided by 25. In this example, the divisor, 25, is a whole number, so we place the decimal point in the quotient directly above the decimal point in the dividend and then divide. The answer is 0.34. Keep in mind that decimals are another way of writing fractions whose denominators are powers of 10, 10, 100, 1000, and so on. When you are converting a mixed decimal, the whole number is added to the new fraction, resulting in a mixed fraction. Here are the steps for converting decimals to fractions. Step 1. Write the numerator of the fraction as the decimal number without the decimal point. Step 2. Write the denominator as 1, followed by as many zeros as there are decimal places in the original decimal number. Step 3. Reduce the fraction to lowest terms. When converting decimals to fractions, verbally say the decimal and write it down when you say it as a fraction. For example, 0.85 would be verbally stated as 85 hundredths and written as 85 100ths. Convert the following numbers to their reduced fractional equivalent to test these steps out. 0.64. Let's take a look. Because there are two decimal places, the denominator is 1 with 2 zeros. So 0.64 is 64 over 100, or reduced to 16 over 25. Actions are actually a way of expressing division, with a line separating the numerator and the denominator representing the divided by. In business, decimal numbers are usually rounded to 3 places, thousandths or less. When expressing money, round to the nearest hundredth or cent. Here are the steps for converting fractions to decimals. Step 1. Divide the numerator by the denominator. Step 2. Add a decimal point and zeros as necessary to the numerator, the dividend. Here's an example of how we might convert the following fraction to the decimal equivalent rounding to hundredths. 3 over 5 equals 0.6.